Ladies and gentlemen, it's me, your boy, Young. I haven't uploaded anything in over a year. Somebody please help me. Back at it again with your annual upload for the next decade. Uh, HDL Season 5 is here. It's finally here. Just like my desire to actually have a consistent upload schedule. Just kidding, that's never gonna happen. No, I'm kidding. I'm actually working on that. So for those who aren't aware of what the HDL is, the HDL, aka the Hyrule Draft League, was a Pokemon draft league that was created by myself and Wade, aka Flipkicky. And then initially from season 2 onward, we also enlisted the help of Clay, aka Maricata. All of their socials can be found in the link in the description below, because without the two of them, this league would not be where it is right now. We are up to season 5 of this, which is still sort of just like ridiculous to me, because, and I've told them this before, when I first created season 1, I was expecting this to be a one-off. I didn't think anybody was ever going to want to do it again. I thought people were going to want to do it once and then never touch it again. And now here we are, 3 years later, and we're still going. So, yeah, I was so wrong. I was so very wrong. But unlike a lot of the other draft leagues that are around, because we are not the first draft league, nor do we ever claim to be, but we are, what I like to believe, the one that just has the most straight up bullshit. Because that is just how we differentiate ourselves from the rest, is we just have fun. For example, what other draft league can you think of where someone unironically ran Trick Ring Target Gengar to deal with something? Because I can't. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We're talking about a draft league where people literally ran Choice Banded Explosion Volcanion for no other reason than because they could. That's just the type of league that this has become. And frankly, I would not have had it any other way, because if there's anything that is synonymous with me as a person and Pokemon, it's probably jank. But no, it's a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to this season. Now, as you all know, I've got a bit of a track record with the HDL. And that is that I have never made it past quarterfinals. That is as far as I've ever made it. I've made it to playoffs in season 2, and I made it to playoffs last season in season 4. And I lost to Wade both times. Now, after season 4, I sort of realized, you know what? I've got it as far as I can on my own. And so because of that, I decided that if I was ever going to get any farther, I was going to need a bit of extra help. So, I enlisted the one person I knew I could trust more than anyone else. Me!
Was waiting for that joke. Hi, I'm also a Ben. I am your worst nightmare, because I make stupid choices that work way more than they have any right to.
So, that's right. 2 out of the 3 Bens from last season have teamed up. And we are inside your walls, and we are going to make you full of fear, because that's just what we do.
You may know me from such greatest hits as taking over a 2-6 team and making the playoffs last season somehow.
If there was anybody who was going to be able to give me the push I needed, it was going to be Ben. I saw that man take a team that was destined to not make it to playoffs and turn it around, and I knew that this was the man I needed.
Yeah, it's sometimes I make things work, and other times I draft a team, it's awful, and I rearrange the team halfway through the season, make a much better run.
I mean,
adaptation is key.
But at the end of the day, it's all about having fun here. And frankly, we're already on our way to be having a lot of fun. So there are a few things that have separated HDL Season 5 from previous seasons. The first big change is we have overhauled the entire drafting process. In previous HDL seasons, we used what is known as a tier-based format. So we basically had tier 1 through tier 5, and everybody would get a set amount of free picks per each tier before it then devolved into a point-based draft. This time around, we are doing a primarily point-based draft, but with a little bit of unique flair. This is a system that was conceptualized by myself and Jeroen, which we have dubbed Hybrid Draft 2.0. And the basic concept is that it is almost exclusively a point-based draft. However, you will notice that there are 3 mega tiers, much like in a tier-based format, and there is a new Staples tier. Now, what the Staples tier is this is basically every single meta-defining / round 1 pick mon that people would basically gravitate to or build a team around. And you are allowed to get one of these for free, and only one. You are not allowed to grab any others. The same thing applies to any of the megas, and of course there are incentives for picking lower tier megas, as is the case with a lot of tier-based formats. And so the end result is you pick your mega, you pick your staple, and then from there you were given 85 points to budget however you wanted until you wound up with a team of 10 to 11 Pokemon. And the end results... Sorry, I'm a little bit...
No dying.
Bit of a coarse throat because of some things that happened earlier. Long story. But because of that, the end results was exactly what we wanted, where we wanted to have a more fine-tuned tiering system, which you would get in points, without having the result of an overly top-heavy draft, which is what tends to happen with a lot of point-based drafts. And so what we wound up with was teams that were more or less on the same power level as last season, which is exactly what we wanted. The concept worked. It was a phenomenal success, and I have a feeling that's probably what we are going to be doing from now on until the end of time. On top of that, we have also incorporated terrestrializing Gen 9's new gimmick, because it's actually a not broken gimmick this time. Dynamaxing. So the way we are doing it is we sort of took a leaf out of the Z Captains book. If people remember Gen 7 draft leagues and how Z Captains went, it's sort of the same idea. Basically, what we decided to do was each team was allowed to pick 1 2/2 Pokemon that equaled or added up to a value lower than 15 points total. And those Pokemon are considered your Terra Captains, meaning those are the only Pokemon on your team that you are allowed to terrestrialize. So, for example, if I picked Nidoking for 15 points, and I said this is my Terra Captain, then that is the only Pokemon on my team that I am allowed to terrestrialize. However, I could have also decided to have picked, say, Hydreigon, and then a 1-point Mon, or Barraskewda and a 2-point Mon, etc. And those would have been valid Terra Captains. Now, on top of that, you are allowed to change your Terra Captains. However, doing that will count as a free agency transaction. So there's a little bit, you have to be a little bit cautious there. There is some freedom, but it's not an overbearing amount of freedom. And of course, because of the 15-point rule, any Mon that was 16 points or higher, including staples and megas, are not allowed to terrestrialize. So that was the system that we wound up with, which seems to be working well. And because of that, this is honestly shaping up to be probably the biggest season we've had yet. The clauses and rules are about the same as any modern draft league. There's a few notable changes. For example, we handle item clause a little bit differently. Whereas most draft leagues would make it so that you are not allowed more than one of the same item, we give people a little bit of leeway and say you can have no more than 2 of the same item. Our policy on baton pass is the exact same as it was in last season, in which only dry passing is allowed. And then, of course, we also have the Snom clause, because, like I said, would it really be a league with my presence in it if we didn't just have some random arbitrary amount of bullshit in it? I don't think we would. So for those who aren't aware of how the Snom clause worked, and still works, basically the way it works is dating all the way back to Season 2, we created Snom as a random button. And the concept has more or less stayed the same with some tweaks every subsequent season, which is that when someone drafts Snom every week, we randomize Snom, and Snom can turn into any mega regardless of whether or not it was drafted, and that's your mega for that week. Or it could just stay a Snom. You might just be stuck with a Snom for a week. This time around, we did do some changes to it. The mega ruling is exactly the same as it always has been. So Snom could become any mega, regardless of whether or not somebody drafted it. And it could be from any tier. There's still a chance it could just be just a Snom for a week. However, Snom will be allowed to terrestrialize, much like how last season we allowed Snom to Dynamax and only Snom, because let's be real, it's a Snom. This time around, there is also a new gimmick, and that is what is being referred to as the Wheel of Bugs, which means that when we decide to randomize it, you could just land on the Wheel of Bugs. And what the Wheel of Bugs is, well, it's exactly what it sounds like. It is a wheel, aka a randomized pool, that contains every single bug type in existence, even the ones that are banned. So, you could end up with an Arceus bug, or you could end up with a Weedle.
Don't sleep on that poison sting, man. I'm trying to get that 20%.
Hey,
I think it is.
Bandit, Skitter, Smack, Weedle, Okos, Hoopa, Unbound. Just saying.
What bug move doesn't Hoopa Unbound?
And that's the punchline. Of course, you can see our bans, our decisions, for basically just about everything. Don't ask about the Sun Kern. This is a long-winded story that will never get answered, and you will be left wondering as to what happened to this Sun Kern until the last week when I finally give you the answer. Or until we fight Clay, whichever happens first.
Just know that Sun Kern's a war criminal, and it will be tried before the Geneva Convention in The Hague soon.
Oh, yeah. Friggin' their Sun Kern has a lot of crimes to answer to.
A lot to answer for.
So with that out of the way, let's get into, of course, our team.
I should actually open up our team page now, shouldn't I?
Now, while I give Ben a little bit of time to do that, here's the other teams that we're up against. We have, of course, the Death Reg robots, led by our fellow Ben Snazzy.
There can only be two.
We have Go Bees, led by Mace. We have the Carolina Luxrays, led by Clay. We have ourselves, the Legion of Ben. We have the Canberra Cacturns, led by Lion Boy. The Genetic Tyrantrums are led by Finn. Malformed Mayhem is led by Sandy. The Time-Space Anomalies are being led by Purgatory and Mighty Barb. The Hoboken Haluchas are being led by Flipkicky. The Brooklyn Bayonets are being led by Callisto. Salt Construction Incorporated is being led by Yaroon. And Morpeko Tachi is being led by Spooks and Kevin.
Hate that you just changed the language just so it would fit. I hate them so much. I'm full of so much anger.
Originally I forced them to put it in English, but I also wanted people to be able to actually not have to
read.
Yeah, I didn't want people to have to squint their eyes. So eventually I folded.
Like a piece of laundry. Ay.
So here's our team. As you can see, we went for a Sun team. We've got
Pseudo Sun, to be specific.
Yeah. The beauty of our Sun team is that it doesn't actually need Sun to function. Sun is something that is nice to have for this team, but it is not a requirement. This team does not rely on Sun by any stretch of the imagination.
Correct.
You want to go?
No, I was gonna say basically the initial idea for the draft was we wanted to draft Walking Wake because we both liked Walking Wake. Everybody gangster until the wake starts walking.
Exactly.
And that was basically the plan. It was, and then like once we like, oh, Walking Wake. Well, what's the mega that's gonna go great with Walking Wake? Charizard Y brings Sun, and it's a great core because now we have, well, it's not an electric resist, but it's neutral because of the water typing, but it's hugely benefits. Like there's not a lot of things that can take a Zard Y Weather Ball that can also take a Sun boosted Hydro Steam, unless your name is Chansey or Blissey, in which case, well, congratulations, you have a Chansey or a Blissey.
Exactly. So of course we picked Walking Wake because again, everybody's gangster till the wake starts walking. Zard Y, Walking Wake, phenomenal core. Hisuian Zoroark got on the team because it's just a mon that Ben and I both just really wanted to use.
Yeah, I mean, 3 really, really, really good immunities is nice. And also Illusion is something I've never played with much. Even like on the ladder or on Showdown, I never really used Zoroark.
Same.
So it's fun to mess with. It does initially give us our three main attackers being special attackers, but it's not really a problem in Draft League as much as it is when like on the ladder or something like that.
We then picked up Hisuian Lilligant because, one, this thing gets chlorophyll for some reason, even though it already has base 105 speed. 2, Victory Dance is just a hell of a drug.
It is physical quiver dance. It is literally physical quiver dance. For those who don't know and who haven't been paying attention since Legends Arceus, it will boost your attack speed and defense by 1 stage. So it's very good. It is, for now, exclusive to Lilligant Hisui, but it's very nice. Grass Fighting's a good offensive typing. Breloom's been showing us that for years. Gets close combat, Leaf Blade, close combat. I said close combat again.
Yeah.
Solar Blade, rather.
Solar Blade is a phenomenal option for Sun.
Randomly stronger than Solar Beam for whatever reason. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I don't really get why either.
It's 125 attack if base power if memory serves. It also gets some interesting support moves like Encore, and I believe it gets Aromatherapy. I would need to double check. Yeah, it does get a lot of stuff that regular Lilligant does, but mostly the main thing is that it gets victory. The big thing is Victory Dance and the big fighting stab and either close combat or axe kick if you don't want to get the stat drops and instead miss and die. So yeah, it also gets defog randomly. By the way,
wait, it actually gets defog. Hang on.
Yep. I actually did not realize that, so I learned something today.
I also learned something today.
Yeah, it's just a good, strong physical attacker. Hits hard, does damage, gets Healing Wish via Egg Move. It's good support mon if need be, but otherwise it hits like a truck off of base 105 attack and 105 speed. It's not super bulky, but 70, 75, 75 is passable. Especially if you're using like a Victory Dance. That'll probably mean you'll tank a hit and, probably be able to retaliate back with a monster seesaw in close combat.
Yep. And then next up was, okay, let's be real, guys. You really didn't think I was going to pick Donphan again? Do you guys not remember what I did with this absolute chat of an elephant last season? I invaded the entire HDL with a goddamn stampede of elephants, and damn it, I'm gonna do it again! And you cannot stop me!
Originally, we were gonna pick Noivern, but it got sniped quite literally the pick before us.
Yep.
Which was quite distressing. So we wanted a ground type. We wanted a decently defensive physical mon, something that can, switch into a physical attack and tank it. Maybe take 30 to 40%, retaliate back with a strong Earthquake or what have you. Gets rocked, gets knockoff, gets priority, gets random coverage and play rough in the Elemental Fangs.
Gets Ice Shard. Gets Ice Shard. Plus it has Sturdy, so...
I don't think it got spikes this generation. I know a lot of mons did. I don't think this one did.
I don't think it did. However, it does still have Stealth Rocks, so it does have some hazard setting potential there.
Still got Stealth Rock. Average Tusks here is going to do Donphan things. It's always a Pokemon in every format, no matter what it is. Draft League, ladder, in-game. It always puts in some amount of work because it just exists and tanks a hit and blows something up, probably.
You know the meme where SpongeBob pulls out the net for jellyfish and it's all reliable? That's Donphan. Donphan's all reliable.
All reliable. And speaking of old reliable, when you need something to handle problems and cause other problems, Grimmsnarl has been a menace since its introduction in Gen 8. Prankster, Dark Fairy, Sucker Punch, Bulk Up, Drain Punch, screens, now gets Parting Shot because someone thought that was a good idea.
Which made it infinitely better, because now we have Prankster Pivot.
Somebody thought that was a good idea. Gets Thunder Wave, gets dual screens. Its formula unique move Spirit Break is a good stab move, even if you don't want to miss Play Rough. Darkest Lariat's strong. Still gets Darkest Lariat, right?
Yes,
I believe. Does. Okay. I'm trying to think, is there anything else? It gets Fire Punch, if memory serves.
It does. It gets Fire Punch for coverage. I think it might get Thunder Punch as well.
I believe so. That does sound correct. I mean, really, Grimmsnarl doesn't really need any introduction. It is a bit on the slow side at base 60 or 65?
60.
60, I was going to say. It's 240. It ties with Mag Zone. But it also does get Sucker Punch, so some teams could just lose to get Bulk Up, Sucker Punch, Spirit Break.
And then following up on that, we needed a bulky steel type. And we were looking at our options. At this point, we didn't really have a whole lot of points left. We were looking at our options, and there was one mon that sort of stood out to us. And yes, we were aware that we were going to double up on water, but damn it, there are way worse types to double up on.
That's correct. Empoleon is my personal favorite Pokemon, but I think I've talked too much. I'll let Hylian handle this one.
So Empoleon is just a really, really good defensive mon that also has a lot of offensive potential. As we all know, base 111 special attack, base 101 special defense. It also has above base 80 in its HP and its defense, having base 84 HP and base 88 defense respectively. This thing is a very potent, bulky attacker. As if that wasn't enough, it also has Defiant as its hidden ability. So if you wanted to run a mixed attacking set, you can do that if you play your cards right. And it definitely has the move pool to pull that off. The Empoleon's biggest weakness, as we all know, is its lack of reliable recovery. Its only option is Rest Talk. It does not get Roost, as much as Legends Arceus taunted us with it. Unfortunately, Showdown does not agree, and Roost is still not a part of Empoleon's moveset. That is really its only con other than its base 60 speed, but as a bulky attacker, you would not expect it to be fast anyway. But as a water steel type, it is a reliable tank, it is a reliable switch-in, it resists plenty of things, and it can dish out a respectable amount of damage every time you bring it into the field.
Yeah, I'd say we're playing with cut moves, so Scald's back on the menu, boys!
Exactly.
It also, it is one of the best, if not one, it's one of the few, and probably the best, sub-agility Bataya users. I've used that set for many years. But it's an additional hazard controller. It also gets Stealth Rock, it gets Defog. And, I mean, its coverage isn't spectacular, but it's good enough. Skull, Flash Cannon, Grass Knot, Liquidation, I believe. I believe it gets Knockoff, from what I remember.
It does.
I'm fairly certain it does. It gets Aqua Jet. Its main flaw with the Defiance is it doesn't really get good physical Steel Stab. I do not believe it gets Iron Head. Its best Steel Stab, I want to say, is Heavy Slam. That sounds false, but I am also going to double check. I want to say it gets Heavy Slam. Let me just double check because it has been a minute.
It gets Gyro Ball, but it is not
Gyro
Heavy
Ball.
Slam.
No, yeah, it gets. Yeah, jeez, it really did shaft my boy. Oh, yay. Yeah, it definitely wants to lean into the special attacker more than the physical attacker. But thankfully, 86 attack is perfectly fine when you have Swords Dance and Defiant.
Yep. Now, at this point, didn't have a whole lot of points left. we still need an electric type. And, we saw a particular eel that, in most situations, has no weakness. And so, of course, we drafted Killer Queen the Electros.
Killer Queen has no weaknesses.
For real, this thing was just a very underrated pick for us. Mono Electric is far from a horrible type. The fact that it has Levitate means that unless you are running very specific tech, or if you are a Mold Breaker Mon, this thing cannot be hit for super effective damage or by ordinary means, and that is huge. It is the only Pokemon in existence that has no weakness in ordinary combat situations. It has very respectable attacking stats. It's base 115 attack, base 105 special attack. It's got very respectable defenses, having base 80 in both of its defenses and base 85 HP. Its biggest problem is its speed at only base 50. But if you play your cards right with it, it can do a lot of work, and it was just a good electric type addition to the team.
Yep, it's in the vein of old Gen 1 water types where it gets that move? Because this thing gets Giga Drain, it gets Flamethrower, it now gets Drain Punch, which is very, very key to coil sets doing any work. Those are the big ones, Giga Drain and Flamethrower. But that is very much a Gen 1 water type of coverage beat. And things like Slowbro getting Flamethrower, I was like, what?
Following up with that, you know what would have been really evil, Ben? If we did a Prankster Pivot Core. Oh, wait, we did.
But wait, there's more Prankster. What do you mean there's more Prankster? There's always more Prankster.
Everyone's new favorite funny monkey, aka Smeargle 2.0, aka Grafii, is here. And he has formed a Prankster Pivot Core because they both have Prankster Parting Shot, and that is terrifying.
Oh god.
It's a good poison type. It doesn't exactly have the best stats to go around, but base 95 attack and base 110 speed is nothing to scoff at, because that means this thing is plenty fast even without having to rely on Prankster. And even if you didn't want to go the Prankster route, it does get Unburdened. So that is another avenue open to you. Poison Normal is also a rather interesting type combination. You have your immunities to go. You have your immunity to Ghost if you wanted that for whatever reason. And having a good poison type was just a nice luxury. But the big thing really is just the sheer amount of absurd moves this thing gets. Do we want a Prankster screen? Do you want a Prankster Sunny Day Setter? You've got it. You want Prankster Pivot? You've got it. This thing gets a very, very deceptively diverse move pool, and it ticks a lot of boxes.
It's Lipard 2, except this thing, I swore it got hazards. I swore this thing got hazards. Am I going insane? I thought this thing got hazards. I thought it got Toxic Spikes. I was wrong.
I could've sworn it got T-Spikes.
One sec.
Yeah.
Nope, sure doesn't. I thought it did. I was wrong. More importantly, though, it does get knockoff, which is very nice.
Yep.
Even with things not having all their moves, still having a fast knockoff user, just being able to spam knockoff is always nice. It gets U-turn. Again, Swords Dance set with Unburdened is not something to be scoffed at. Base 95 isn't great, but it tends to be. It's still 317 with Adamant, which is probably what you're going to be running with Unburdened. Mm-hmm. It's probably good enough. It gets Super Fang, gets Toxic. It's a Prankster Toxic that does not miss. And for whatever reason, if we want it to be insane and go off of base 80 special, it does get Nasty Plot.
That is true.
By the way,
it does also have access to Switcheroo, which is very helpful for a Prankster Mon.
Yes, just something that Grimmsnarl actually lacks. Speaking of things that has that Grimmsnarl does, it doesn't. It gets whatchamacallit. Why can't I remember the move? Encore. Yes. Is what it gets. It's Encore. So any setup sweepers, beware, because this thing will come for you.
Exactly. And then, of course, at this point, we had 2 points left, and it was time for the secret weapon. Ladies and gentlemen, might I present to you the ultimate unspeakable horror. The physical manifestation of everything that is wrong with our psyches. I give you
No
the
bitch.
pinch.
No bitch. Yes, bitch. It is time for Trap Inch because we had 2 points and we weren't sure if we were going to get Diglett or Trap Inch. Because if someone took Trap Inch, we had a backup plan. Because we're degenerates.
We truly do bring out the worst in each other.
Yeah, basically the thought process behind Trap Inch is we had 2 points. We wanted something funny, but also like base 100 attack is not something to sneeze at. And I mean, even if you just trap one mon, you're trading 1 for 1 with a Trap Inch, which is A, demoralizing for anybody it happens to, and B, it's actually quite good with our team. Because what we want to do with Trap Inch, we want to tend to remove things that would prevent stuff like Zoroark or Lilligant from going off. Zoroark plus Arena Trap is really funny, by the way.
It is actually a very, very funny strat, because we can easily disguise Zoroark as a Trapinch if we wanted to, and just trick the opponent into thinking they don't have the ability to switch.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this league being played on Showdown is if you attempt to switch with a disguised Arena Trap Mon out, you won't be able to cancel because it would reveal too much information. So it is going to cause some interesting mind games. That's only because we're playing this on Showdown specifically.
Yep.
Which does cause some interesting things. Also, something we learned about Trapinch after drafting it is that it also gets Sunny Day.
Can't have enough sun.
Every single Pokemon except 2 on our team gets Sunny Day, which in this case would be Electros and Empoleon. It was Grimmsnarl and Empoleon. Or was it just those 3? I think it might have been 3, actually. I think we found out it was 3, not 2.
It also has flying type coverage with Gust. Today I learned Trapinch gets Gust.
Doesn't it get Aerial Ace?
Nope, just Gust.
What?
It doesn't get
No
Aerial Ace
way.
until it turns into Vibrava.
What? All right, sure, you got it, Chief. I mean, the main thing is Trapinch has 3 moves, and then your 4th slot is kind of whatever you want it to be. Basically, it's always going to run Earthquake. It's always going to run First Impression, which is quite nice. It's probably going to run Quick Attack, and then the last move is basically, what random coverage or tech move do you want? And things like Toxic, Superpower, Rock Slide, Hidden Power if you want to go off base 40 Special Attack, Bug Bite, Bulldoze, all sorts of fun things.
Yeah, this thing is going to be an absolute fun time. For us, I should say. Not necessarily for the people against it.
Look, it's not my fault that Trapinch is a base 100 attack Arena Trap Mon. Take that up with Game Freak. Not my problem.
Look, I'm just saying, as someone who had to go up against Trapinch in draft leagues before, yeah, no, my turn to be chaotic evil. I've got the D20 now. Deal with it.
Correct.
So yeah, that is our team recap. We will see you guys eventually. Hopefully at some point this coming week. Whenever the hell I'm done editing these videos. God damn, don't even get me started on that. But we are going to be up against the Hoboken Haluchas for week 1. So it's time for the Bens to go up against their natural enemy, the Wade. And we will...
Was Wade? I think Wade was the one who eliminated me in playoffs last season, actually, too. Funnily enough.
We will see what happens, because my fight history with Wade has always been a bitter rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll see you guys then. Peace.
Adios.